What's going on, fishy friends? Rich here, Rich's Fishes. It's Friday night. Just got back from the fish store with a whole boatload of goodies, and I think it's time to have some fun in the fish room on a Friday night.
Fishy, fishy, fishy.
Friday night fish room fun. Rich's Fishes Friday happy hour. Rich's Fishes Friday Fiesta. Rich's Fishes Friday Fish Room Fun Time Phantasmo something. Rich's Fishes Funky Friday Fish Unpacking Fiesta. That's a tasty beer. Alright, the 72 bow front looks really good after that big rescape. I'm really liking what I came up with this driftwood. All the larger adult discus are looking really, really good. Everybody looks like they're faring well. There's a tiny bit of aggression that I'm seeing in the tank. The majority of it I can contribute to the Rafflesia Penang eruption cross right there. He's the biggest fish in the tank, and he seems to be trying to assert his dominance every once in a while, especially at feeding times. But so long as I'm feeding enough and I'm spreading some food around the tank, it doesn't seem to be an issue. Everybody does seem to be getting their fair share. But there's a little bit of that dominance that you can see. He's kind of bossing people around. He's pecking a tiny bit. He's doing a little bit of chasing. But all the fish look good and healthy. I really like the scape that I came up with in this tank. And hopefully I don't see so much aggression that I have to intervene and remove some fish or anything like that. The Planet 55 is doing really well also. This thing is pretty much self-sufficient at this point. I've got the large angelfish in here. Most of these large angelfish I picked up super tiny from the local fish store about 2 years ago. And I've grown the majority of these things from dime or quarter size out to as big as my fist. And everybody's doing really well in here. The plants are doing really well in here. I'm not really being as... I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is. I'm not trying to care for the plants by doing anything other than just letting the tank do its thing. I'm not providing CO2 to this tank anymore. I'm not doing any kind of fertilizer routine. And whatever's thriving is thriving. I'm pretty sure this is a hygrophila over here in the corner's doing really well. The red tiger lotus is doing really well. There's a whole ton of moss back into some crypts. There's that huge Anubias that's tied off to the driftwood. Rhizome goes over that way. Curls up and around the front of that piece of driftwood. There's a whole lot of rickia up there in the top of that driftwood that's doing really good too. And this tank has always just done very well. Alright, and this is that 20 long that I recently replanted. This tank is doing very well. I was happy to see that all this crypt undulata that I put in here I picked this up from the local fish store, came home, replanted it, and I did not experience any crypt melt. A very common phenomenon, especially with crypt, is that the plant will literally melt away. The leaves will melt and turn invisible and mushy and kind of gross and kind of rot away quick, especially when you replant it in a tank or move it to a new tank. And I didn't experience that. So the rescape and adding in these new plants has so far worked very well. This Crinum calamostratum over here has been growing since I put it in my tank. You can see the end of each of the leaves is kind of straight and not wrinkled and crinkly and waffled the way the rest of the plant is. And that new growth is coming in visibly on the tips of the leaves there, nice and straight. So when I replanted everything and rescaped this a couple of weeks ago, I added in a bunch of cherry barbs. I forget exactly how many I added, 10, 12. Not too many fared well. I'm down to 3 after about 2.5 weeks, and I'm not exactly sure what the reasoning why is. There's 2 of them. The third one's over here, checking out some of the new acquisitions that are going to go into this tank. Also, what I had added were, I believe it was 9 Cory hesbrosis, the salt and pepper cories. I've only got 3 of those left as well. Now these guys were super, super tiny, and they still are, when I picked it up at the fish store. So maybe they were a little too young to go through the stress of moving once or twice. I'm not exactly sure what's up. All the water tests out fine, so I'm not too concerned about the quality of the water. So I did go to the local fish store earlier, and I picked up some new acquisitions. In this larger bag here, I've got 16 rasboras. And over here, behind the cherry barb, I have 4 lamb chop rasboras. Now, personally, I always thought those were pretty much the same fish. But I did see a difference at the store today. The ESPYs were a little duller, a little paler almost, while the lamb chop rasboras, the front half of the fish, you know, the part that's not black back there, really took on a nice colorful sheen in the store, much more so than the ESPYs did. And also what I picked up at the store are 3 panda cories. And these guys are roughly the same size as the salt and pepper cories that are already in the tank, so I think they should make for some good tank mates, and they should end up shoaling together. So that should be pretty cool. So we'll let them acclimate a little longer and then get them into the tank. What else do we got? Down here in one of the older 10-gallon tanks that has used to house some apistogramma. Currently there's just some cherry shrimp in here. There's one on the front of the glass. Is my camera going to be able to focus on them? There's also a ton of duckweed. I got rid of all the duckweed out of some tanks, but not all. There's another red cherry shrimp. And this is the tank that I am going to throw a couple of more new acquisitions in. I got 2 albino bushy nose plecos. So I'm going to put them in this 10-gallon tank for a little while. They can hang out with some cherry shrimp. I don't know if the 2 will coexist peacefully or not. I don't think the bristlenose will make a snack out of the cherry shrimp. They probably shouldn't, so long as I'm feeding them properly. And we'll see if we can't grow those guys out and then maybe add them into the Discus tank behind me. And then over here in this 10-gallon tank, since I'm a glutton for punishment, I got a whole bunch of neon tetras. I think I've mentioned before just how much I love neons and cardinals, but I've never had very good luck keeping them. Yet I keep trying time and time again. But the local fish stores had a bunch in a tank for the past 3 or 4 visits that I've made there, and it looks like the same batch. The employee was pretty sure they've had these things in there for a month or something like that. And the tank looked good and healthy. There was no dead fish in the tank. I've not seen any dead fish in that particular tank in this store anytime I visited. None of the neons have ever looked malnourished or sick or showing any signs of anything out of the ordinary. So I decided to take a risk on them. And I'm going to put them in this tank back here where there are some red cherry shrimp and a single black skirt tetra that I've had for 4 or 5 years. Where is that guy? He usually hangs out by the back filter. He might not be thrilled to have new tank mates. We'll see. There's a couple of the cherry shrimp here. and we'll let the neons go in a couple of minutes as well. All right, guys, let's go ahead and start getting some of these fish into the tanks. Let's start with the rasboras. And what I'm going to do is take my handy dandy net, place it over my handy dandy bucket, open up the bag of fish, drop the bag of fish on the floor, hopefully not lose any of the fish. Let's see. Let's double check, because I'm pretty sure I got fish on the floor here. Okay, crisis averted, sort of. Make sure nobody's left in the bag. They look good. Oh, that's weird. Why did one or two of them get out of the net already? How is that possible? There's some plant matter left over from the fish store. Hoping to not introduce that into my tank if I can avoid it. One more, you gotta get out of there. Okay. Not with any luck. Everybody is in there and doing well. We'll move on to bag number 2 with the 4 lamb chop rasboras. And we will do the same thing, except not drop the fish on the floor this time, hopefully. Firm grip on the bag. Continue to hold the bag. All right, make sure there's no fish left in the bag. And then we will take these 4 who are jumping like crazy. And we will get them into the tank. Once again, hopefully without releasing that plant matter. 1, 2, 3, and come on, 4. Oh, there we go, number 4. And once again, open the bag, firm grip on the bag, rubber band off. We'll dump that skanky fish store water right through the net into the bucket. And we'll take our 3 corridors. 1, 2, 3. And there we go. Alright guys, one more tank to deal with.
All these neon tetras, all that duckweed.
Once again, we'll bring them in front of the bucket. Open the bag. Pour the water and the fish into and through that net. Make sure there's no fish left in the bag. Take the net and the fish. And there they all are. And hopefully this time they do really well for me. Fingers crossed. And last but not least, we didn't forget about these guys. Alright guys, that's it. Comment, rate, subscribe, let me know what you think. Hit that thumbs up button if you like what I'm doing. Hit that thumbs down button if you don't. And I'll see you guys next time.